Coming up on Mountain News this morning, candidates were hitting the campaign trail once again with less than 1 week until elections.
And we now know more about Vice President Mike Pence's visit to the region in just 2 days.
Plus, Kentucky Valley Educational Co-op, also known as KVEC, announced their goals for the 2020 legislative session.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. The time is 6:31 on October 30th. I'm Madison Pergram.
And I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning on this hump day.
So it's hump day, it's Halloween Eve. It's a big day.
It is a big day. Everybody's got to kind of cut their carbs today so they can chow down on some candy tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, let's go to Brandon Robinson because, Brandon, you say it's going to be a crazy 48 hours, rain, maybe some snowflakes, temperatures drop.
Big cold front. It's going to affect us all starting this morning. We're already seeing some rain across parts of the area on live pinpoint Doppler radar. Let's take a look. We'll take you a little closer down toward parts of southern Kentucky, southeastern Kentucky, Harlan, back over toward Williamsburg and Middlesboro, seeing some light shower activity this morning. So just be careful in those areas. Some patchy dense fog. Watch out for that as well. Temperatures in the mid to upper 50s. Across the board, the 12-hour planner today takes us into the mid to upper 60s, but the rain chances will increase as we head deeper into the day. As we look ahead, well, the cold front arrived, and we're going to see a soggy Halloween, and chilly temperatures will be behind that. And we also have a freeze watch that we're keeping an eye on. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit.
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, yesterday marked 1 week until we head to the polls to decide who will be Kentucky's next governor. Last night was the fifth and final debate.
And as Christine Kennedy tells us, Governor Matt Bevin and Attorney General Andy Beshear have already debated a lot of issues and expressed where they stand.
The governor and attorney general disagree on just about every platform affecting Kentuckians. They even disagree on personal matters, like growing up poor.
My dad was a poor preacher's kid in Western Kentucky. His dad was able to put him through the University of Kentucky right here. He went on and paid his way through law school.
That was the attorney general in the Kentucky debate discussing family hardships. The governor disputed that claim Monday on KET's Kentucky Tonight Forum.
I'm the only one of the two of us that's never had health care coverage my whole time growing up. I grew up well below the poverty level. You and I are very different in that regard. I don't speak with sympathy about folks.
I've never inherited a Bell company. That's for sure.
Oh, trust me, my friend. If you knew what you were talking about, you wouldn't want to.
WKYT political editor Bill Bryant says a candidate's past matters, just not necessarily as much as their present.
It paints a more complete picture if you know where a candidate came from, how they grew up, how they came to be the person they are today. I think that gives you some idea of what formed them as a person and how they might lead. But ultimately, I think people are going to decide based on what they see of these candidates now.
What they're seeing now is a lot of bickering. Part of Monday night's forum focused on the governor's refusal to release his tax returns. The attorney general released his.
If people want to know what I'm invested in, they can look, and the state already tracks that. Every single company that I'm invested in, any financial investment I have is known.
You wrote et cetera on your disclosure.
Every single investment that I have, everything that I'm invested in, that was as it relates to stocks that are owned.
Bryant says voters' expectations when it comes to that kind of financial transparency are changing.
With Bevin's election in 2015 and then obviously with President Trump's in 2016, it throws into question whether voters really do demand that.
Well, last night's debate was the final debate before next week's election. The election is on Tuesday, November 5th.
Well, with less than 1 week until Election Day, both campaigns are making sure every moment counts. Governor Bevin's lieutenant governor choice, Ralph Alvarado, and Andy Beshear's running mate, Jacqueline Coleman, both spent their Tuesday speaking to nonprofit leaders, hoping to win votes. The Kentucky Nonprofit Network, a nonpartisan organization, invited both candidates to a luncheon. Officials with the organization say they are just as concerned as the candidates about who will be in office come 2020.
Really keeping an eye on generally the tax and regulatory environment affecting nonprofits and their ability to raise funds.
Now, after spending months on the campaign trail, each one is planning to give it all they've got in this final stretch. Coleman and Alvarado expressed their support for nonprofits, while each touching on the heavily debated topics of health care, pensions, public education, and jobs. On Election Day, the polls will be open from 6 in the morning until 6 at night.
And Democratic candidate Andy Beshear and Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman are coming to Eastern Kentucky today. Beshear is stopping with Rocky Atkins at the Big Blue Smokehouse in Hazard at noon. Then he is heading to Golden Corral in London at 2 p.m. At both stops, he is expected to meet with voters, and stops are also planned in Louisville and in Richmond.
Well, we now know more about Vice President Mike Pence's visit to our region Friday. The VP will make several stops with Governor Bevin, Congressman Hal Rogers, and the 2019 Kentucky GOP ticket. The first stop will be a meet and greet at Shep's Place in Corbin. Then they will participate in a first responders roundtable at the Williamsburg Tourism and Convention Center. Finally, there will be a Get Out the Vote event at the Laurel London Optimist Club around 3:15. The Bevin campaign says this is the first part of a two-day Eastern Kentucky bus tour. Stops on Saturday have not yet been announced.
And the Pikeville Police Department is looking for the public's help in identifying a vandal that hit Pike County's Foggy Mountain community. The vandal is accused of defacing campaign signs in the area that belong to Justin Corey Hamilton, one of the men running for Pike County's family court judge seat. Police Chief Chris Edmonds says the department was given footage of what is believed to be the vandal's vehicle, but that footage was not clear since it happened in the early morning hours.
If anybody's seen anything, we noticed some vehicles going by on the roadway. If anybody noticed a vehicle kind of out of place or doing a new turn around coming back to an area, please contact us, see any of that information that they can.
Sign vandalism has been an issue for both parties this election season, and Hamilton and Kent Varney will be on the ballot for family court judge.
Recently, we told you about hundreds of jobs coming to Floyd County following the announcement of the Wheelwright prison reopening. Now, the judge executive of the county says hundreds of more jobs are on their way. The fiscal court teamed up with Teleworks USA to bring in around 300 jobs. The pay starts at $12 an hour. A job fair is November 13th from 10 a.m. until noon, followed by another one at 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. in the Floyd County Fiscal Courtroom.
And the Kentucky Valley Education Co-op, also known as KVEC, announced their goals for 2020 legislative session. Their main goal to advocate for adequate funding for all of our components in education, also focusing on professional development and teacher recruitment. Robbie Fletcher, superintendent of Lawrence County Schools, says they believe they have a plan to do that.
We believe increasing that pipeline starts with making sure that we have benefit packages for teachers. We have a good retirement system. So we want to make sure that we have those type of incentives that will draw the best and brightest into our field.
KVEC has operated for more than 50 years now, with 23 districts included.
Well, fewer people are enrolling in college, but more students are earning degrees and other credentials.
The Council on Post-Secondary Education says this shows a commitment to finishing college.
Yeah, public and independent colleges conferred a record 76,000 degrees last school year. That's an increase of close to 5% from the year before.
The council also says preliminary enrollment is down about 2% this year, continuing a 5-year trend.
Well, a John Maxwell event called Live to Lead in the Mountains kicked off in Pikeville Tuesday morning, where more than 200 people were there from local businesses, schools, and churches.
WYMT's Marianne Fletcher was there to learn why conferences like this are important to the entire region.
Teaching leaders how to lead.
Because leadership is such an important asset in the growth of any area.
Philip Haywood has a hand in bringing the Live to Lead in the Mountains conference to Pikeville.
As I say, get your palms a little sweaty and get out there and do some things, and the leadership is a big part of that.
More than 200 people learning new perspectives, practical tools, and key takeaways.
It's important for us to realize that what we do and how we live our lives matter.
Tom Hartsock is excited to take what he learns and apply it to his local business.
And the message that we're getting here is very clear. Be the best that you can be, and then help others be the best they can be.
Hartsock says many outside of the Appalachian region look down on Eastern Kentucky. However, we have one thing many areas do not.
It's a culture where we can come together and say, you know what, we have a good commodity here, and that's the people that are here because we care about people.
Equipping Eastern Kentuckians with the power to move forward. In Pike County, Marianne Fletcher, WYMT Mountain News.
Philip Haywood says if you want your community to grow, leadership should be at the roots.
Well, in July, the Defense Prisoner of War Missing in Action Accounting Agency identified the remains of a Magoffin County veteran killed in the Korean War. Private First Class Ray Palmer Fairchild was just 22 years old when he was killed on November 27, 1950 at the Battle of Kushin Reservoir in North Korea. Fairchild was from Mash Fork. A service and military honors for Fairchild is scheduled for 1 p.m. November 23rd at the Magoffin County Funeral Home Chapel. The public is invited to attend the service.
Forecast continues to see a little bit of rain starting to work its way into the region this morning. That's going to increase in coverage throughout the day. You've seen the last few hours the rain getting closer and closer. Temperatures across the board in the mid to upper 50s there, some low 50s in some locations. Your out the door forecast is going to feature again rain chances increasing throughout the day, and we'll see again a little patchy fog this morning. So just kind of keep that in mind. 67 your forecast time. Guys.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you for joining Mountain News this morning.
Coming up, we'll have a pet in our studio who's looking for a good home.